Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So horses to follow this year are going to be a little bit different. I'm going to break them down into 3 videos of 4, but you're also going to be able to see me. Great news for some, I'm sure, but terrible news for others. We're doing that just so you can see who I am, you can get an understanding of how I do things, and hopefully it makes me a little bit more approachable. If you have any questions or thoughts about my horses to follow, any of my blog posts, anything to do with Rating the Races, get in touch. I'm always happy to hear from you. So do let me know of any thoughts or feedback. So let's get on with it. Let's talk about our horses to follow this year. And we're going to start with a horse called I Write. Now, I don't know whether he's one of the most obvious ones on my... He's probably one of the highest rated of the horses on my horses to follow. But as you can see, he hasn't won for a little while. He hasn't won since January 2020, when winning at Newcastle at, 4-6, 1.74 on Betfair. But he's ran some good races since then, including in the Ladbroke Trophy last year, when he was second to Cloth Cap. Cloth Cap's up, was he up 14? Is he up £24 in total, I think? Since winning that race. If I Write took him on again, even though he got beat by 10 lengths, you'd think I Write's going to at least challenge him, if not turn that form around. What happened after his run in the Ladbroke? He finished 6th in the Jumpers Bumper, as you can see here. That's this run here. And he then went to Doncaster for the Skybet Chase, where he ran a cracker for 2nd. And then he ran at Cheltenham, where he finished 3rd in the Old Teamer Handicap Chase. I was obviously delighted because we tipped up Vintage Clouds as well, but I thought his run was very good. He got beat by Vintage Clouds, who I liked, and Happy Go Lucky, who obviously came out at Aintree and won, is actually out for the season, but franked the form. Excuse me. I think when you pick a horse and it beats another horse, always have a look at that other horse. You've obviously thought the winner, or in this case the winner and the second, were ahead of their marks or better than what they had showed. So why did the horse just behind them get so close? Or can you mark that up? It's all about having confidence in yourself, and I have a lot of confidence in my selections, and I think I Write can certainly go well this year. After his run at Cheltenham, he ran at Ayr in the Scottish National. Too far. He travelled quite nicely. He didn't go particularly low in running, at only 37% win PR. What that means is he reduced by 37.86% in the run from his 9.69 starting price. So not a massive shortening in odds. He travelled okay. He finished 10th. Never really got involved in the race. I think that was too far. Now, they've already given him a run this season, and to be honest, I think it's a little bit... I'm never a fan of these types of prep races. He ran over 2 mile. Considering he'd run over 3 miles, 3 mile 1, 3 mile 2, and then they tried nearly 4 miles in the Scottish National, to then drop him to 2 mile 1, I think is a little bit harsh on the horse. But I think he's been dropped potentially as it's surely a prep run. What's it a prep run for? I'm hoping it's for the Ladbroke Trophy. I think if he comes back again this year I think he's off £2 higher mark. I can't remember. I haven't got it written down in my notes. So that's very poor. I will make sure that when I send you information about this, I tell you about I Write's handicap mark. Let me just write that down. So I think he's going to go close again this year. He runs well in big handicaps when he gets his conditions. If you took out his Jumpers Bumper run, this one here, and you took out his run at Ayr, his form, 2nd, 3rd, 2nd, 2nd, 3rd. As you can actually see, he did turn up in this Kelso race last year before going to Wetherby. I think they'll skip the Wetherby this year and go straight to Newbury. So I Write is my first horse in my horses to follow, and hopefully he can run a big race in the Ladbroke Trophy on hopefully his next run. Let's look at the second horse. The second horse I've selected is a horse called Iscaria 10. Iscaria 10 was also last seen in a national in the Irish National over at Fairyhouse, where he pulled up. Now, I want to scrub that run completely. It was, having been ridden prominently in a lot of his other races, they dropped him back to the back of the field. They held him up. He never got involved whatsoever. And I just thought that was a bit of a strange ride in the Irish National, particularly as the winner made all, didn't he? Freewheeling Dylan made all the running to win that day. The run that really caught my eye was at Cheltenham. He got beat by Galvin. Now, Galvin was essentially the good thing from December. I think he ran in December at Cheltenham and then was not seen for the rest of the year. It might have even been November. And he was then not seen for the rest of the year. He came back to Cheltenham and won. And the second horse, Next Destination, well, he's a Grade 1 horse. He's a Grade 1 winner over hurdles. And over fences, he'd been running, very credible races. And I think he is above average, obviously. And I think this was a good 3-mile 5 race. I do think that for the National Hunt Challenge Chase or Cup, it was a very good run and a very good race. And I think the front 3 are all above average. And I'm looking forward to seeing Iscaria 10 in a handicap. I have written down on my notes that I think he might end up in the Troy Town handicap chase in a couple of months, where off his current mark, I think he'll run a massive race. And as I said, if you took out his run at Fairyhouse, he would be significantly shorter than what he's going to be on the day. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Iscaria 10. He's lightly raced. He's going the right way. He can jump when he's towards the front of the field. He was ridden out the back. It didn't work. And I'm hoping for a much better run next time for the McNeil-owned Iscaria 10. Moving on to the third horse now. Call Me Lord surely drops into handicap company next. Why am I so keen to see him run in handicaps? He's had 5 runs in handicaps. First, third, second, third. 2 of those runs came off 160 and 152 in Imperial Cups. He's currently rated 150. So he's finished second in an Imperial Cup off a £2 higher mark, and he's finished second in an Imperial Cup off a £10 higher mark. Now, I'm not saying he'll run in the Imperial Cup. I don't want him to run in the Imperial Cup. I think it will be too short for him now. As we can see, if we look at his previous runs, they'd been stepping him up in trip, and he did even run over 3 mile at Aintree, where they tried to run him in the Stayers hurdle, essentially at Aintree, and he's not good enough for Grade 1 company. But he's definitely good enough to win a big handicap. And I hope they aim him at the Coral Cup at the Cheltenham Festival. They could even continue running him in these graded races where he's finishing 4th and 5th and his handicap mark's not moving or even potentially dropping slightly. If they manage to do that and get him to the Coral Cup of around 150, I'd be really keen on Call Me Lord. I think he's just shy of Grade 1 company, which means he's a brilliant top-class handicapper, and I'd be really keen to see him dropping back into handicaps this year. We know a lot about Call Me Lord. He's been around for a few years now. He's clearly very talented. He still retains his ability. He's just not quite at the top level. So Call Me Lord is the third horse I want to add to our horses to follow. And the fourth horse, and the final one of this video, is a horse called Milliner. Now, Milliner was interesting because he finished 4th in the Potemps final when he was beaten by some smart horses. He was beaten by Come On Teddy. He was beaten by the Boss's Oscar, a horse to follow for the Turf Talk podcast, with the Potemps final in mind, and Mrs. Milliner, who we were on at 33-1 for the race. So again, this is another one of those horses that I like because of the form. Going into the race, we had Mrs. Milliner and the Boss's Oscar for the Potemps final. They finished 1st and 2nd. Come On Teddy had been in really good form. Milliner was 4th. Now, what was interesting about Milliner is it was right at the bottom of the handicap. It didn't really get spoken about that much after the race, and yet it finished fourth, having been backed into 7-1. I think there's a good handicap in this, and there's actually a race at Navan in early December that I think Milliner could aim for. The bosses Oscar actually ran in it last year and finished second behind Flooring Porter. Obviously, they went on to win at Cheltenham and finish second at Cheltenham. So there's really good form there. It's the right type of race for Milliner, and I'd be really disappointed if he doesn't turn up at Navan. And if he does turn up at Navan, I'd be really, really disappointed if he doesn't run a very big race. So they are my first 4 for my horses to follow. I write with the Ladbroke Trophy in mind. Iscaria 10. I'm hoping he runs in the Troy Town Handicap Chase. Call Me Lord, with the potential of returning to Cheltenham in March for the Coral Cup, if they can keep his mark about the same. And Milliner. There's a race at Navan in early December that I think Milliner can go for and hopefully run a big race. So that's it for video 1. As always, let me know your thoughts. And it's good to show you all my face for the first time. If you didn't come to any of the Cheltenham previews that I've sat on the panel, you probably wouldn't have seen my face since then or by now. You have now. Hi, everyone.